Greetings and welcome to another edition of Pirate Parents Live. My name is Carter Fenwick. I'm the Director of Parent and Family Programs here at ECU. And this is the video series where we bring you topical, helpful information and resources to support you and your student. So today we're talking about the bill. Yes, that bill. And so bills were sent out to students and authorized users on July 14th, so pretty recently. So our plan today is to discuss what's on the bill, how and when to pay, and other important information related to the bill that you may not be aware of. So with me today I have Amber Marin, who is my expert on the subject from the cashier's office. And so we will just dive right in. You ready?
Yep.
Okay, great. Super important, but yet I guess an easy question for you to get us started is, when is the bill due?
So the first payment deadline is 5 p.m. on August 12th. So at that time, you would need to either have your entire account balance paid in full, be 100% covered by financial aid, or be enrolled in a payment plan to secure your schedule through the cancellation date. Because if you don't have any of those things in place, your classes will drop. You can re-register the next day. We just can't guarantee you'll get back into your classes. So it's important to make sure your stuff is taken care of before the 5 p.m. deadline on August 12th.
Yes, 5 p.m.
Yes.
Very, very important. Okay, awesome. So, like I said, bills were sent out July 14th. And so you've probably had a chance to look at the bill, see the bill. So I thought it may be helpful for us to kind of cover some parts of the bill that you get a lot of questions about. So can you kind of cover those frequently asked portions of the bill?
Yeah, I would think that the thing that I get asked about the most is, we do have a lot of students that live off campus. So when they're looking at their bill and they see resident or non-resident, a lot of times students or parents will think that that has something to do with whether they live on campus or not. They'll be like, "Well, I don't live on campus. Why am I being charged for a dorm?" And it's not anything to do with that. Resident means in-state tuition. Non-resident means out-of-state tuition. So if you see resident, that means you're being billed the in-state tuition rate. If you see non-resident, that means it's the out-of-state tuition rate. And then the other thing that I get asked about a lot is all on-campus students, whether you live on campus or off campus, if you're attending classes on campus, you pay a health service fee. This is unrelated to the student health insurance. A lot of people think that it has something to do with that because most people do waive the health insurance. So they'll see that and they're like, well, I waived out of the health insurance. But the health service fee is just a fee that all on-campus students pay. It goes towards the operation and maintenance of the student health center.
Yes, which is a resource for all students,
Yeah.
who can use it. I know I visited it a couple times whenever I was on campus. A couple of other pieces I know when I reviewed the bill, as someone who does not work in the cashier's office, a few things that kind of stood out to me that may, cause questions, is the charges versus payments section. Can you explain those?
So the bill can be a little tricky to read. There's a charges column and a payments or credits column. So when you're looking at it, anything in the charges column is a charge, except for sometimes if you're due for a refund, whether it's a financial aid refund or you've somehow accidentally overpaid on your account, the refund line item will be posted in the charge column. And it's not that you're actually being charged for the refund, it's just the way this banner system has to balance out the account. It posts refunds in the charges column because we're giving you money, not you giving us money. So it has to go there, but it's not an actual charge. But anything else that's not a refund in the charge column is an actual charge. And any waivers, payments, scholarships, loans, anything like that will be in the credits or payments column.
Awesome. And then underneath those columns, there was, I think it was on the left-hand side, the balance forward, current term balance, and future balance. Can you talk about the difference between those
Yeah.
balances?
So, balance forward would be if you had a previously owed balance from a previous semester. So, like, let's say you got a $15 parking ticket a semester or two ago, that and you never paid it, and all the payments that you've made since then somehow didn't cover it. It would show up as a balance forward. If you're a fresh incoming student, you wouldn't have to worry about a balance forward. There wouldn't be one on your account. But then the current term charges would just be whatever you're being billed for the current semester. And then the future balance would just be like if you've made payments or you got some financial aid that's pending that's being reflected against your account balance. Whatever balance owed that's left over will be the future balance. But if you're financial aid or you've already paid it off, then that future balance should be $0.
Awesome. And I too had some parking tickets on maybe 1 or 2 bills at some point when I was in college. Okay, next question. Can you give a quick rundown of the different forms of payment that the cashier's office accepts?
Yep. So you can pay online with an electronic check. There's no fee for that. It's where it withdraws from your bank account. So you use a routing and account number. Um, it may say on the website that you can use a savings account, but I just highly recommend to just use a regular checking account. Most banks do not allow direct payments to be made from a savings account, money market, global cash account, any kind of special account that's not a checking account. And so anytime a payment is returned for any reason, it does come back with a $35 return check fee, and that is mandated by the state of North Carolina. So generally, we cannot waive those.
Good to know.
And something to keep in mind is if you do pay with an electronic check, it'll immediately post a line item to your tuition statement showing that a payment was made, but it can take 5 to 7 business days for the payment to actually withdraw from your bank account. So if you've got multiple payments coming out around the same time, that's just something to keep in mind. And then you can also pay with a credit or a debit card online. You would select credit card via PayPath on the payment method drop down menu. Um, Online, it does run the debit card as credit, so there is a 3% convenience fee. But if you come into the cashier's office and pay with a PIN-based debit card, there's no fee. We also take cash, cashier's checks, personal checks, money orders, and then you can also mail in a check or a money order.
Okay, awesome. Good to know all those different forms of payment. Can you also talk about the payment plans that we offer students and their families?
Yep. So we have 2 payment plans. We have currently what is available is the 5-month payment plan. The enrollment for that started on July 14th and it'll end at 5 p.m. on August 12th, which is the day of the payment deadline. And if you are not enrolled in a payment plan by 5 p.m. on August 12th and you still have a balance owed, more than likely your classes will drop and then you'd have to re-register. So make sure to enroll in a payment plan if you're going to do that. Not November, August 13th, the 4-month payment plan will start, but it's more so intended for late enrollment students. So somebody who's already enrolled and registered, they wouldn't want to wait for that because then their classes will drop. But that is an option for anybody who starts later is the 4-month payment plan. But when you enroll in a payment plan, it does account for any financial aid that's pending on your account. So the plan will be based on what is owed after that. It'll break the balance into 5 payments. You pay the first installment at sign up plus a $20 enrollment fee. And then, so if you sign up in July, the next payment is due August 15th. But if you wait till August to sign up, you'll have 2 payments in August. The last payment is November 17th, and then the spring enrollment will start on November 18th, I believe. Nope, spring enrollment starts November 17th and ends on December 16th. So payment plans do not roll over from one semester to the next. They have to finish paying the fall payment plan before they can enroll in the spring payment plan. And there's another $20 enrollment fee for that.
Good to know. Okay, awesome. Next question. Since a lot of students do have different forms of financial aid, whether that's scholarships or grants or loans, how can they make sure that that financial aid is applied to their bill?
Right. So when you log into your Pirate Port account and you go to the tuition statements and payments link in there, when you get to your main home screen, you'll see your account balance. And right underneath that, there's a button that says View Activity. You click on that, it'll show you all the semesters that you've been enrolled, and you just click on whatever the one is that you want to look at. It'll show you all the charges, all the payments, any pending financial aid you have, or any aid that's already paid out. It'll show it there. That's like the overall tuition statement, and it does update as things change on the account. But then there's also the weekly billing statement. So when you're in the tuition statements and payments portal, on the main home screen, it's a little bit further down, but it's still on that main home screen. There's a button or a box that has statements for taxes and the weekly billing statements. You just click on that and it'll show you the most recent weekly billing statement, and you'll be able to see all the charges, any payments, and then any financial aid up there. And then if you have any questions about where a certain financial aid is, if it's something that's going through FAFSA or something that ECU is offering you directly, you would want to talk to the financial aid office. If you're receiving an outside scholarship, um, Most of the time, those are paper checks that are sent to us, and it's just a matter of when we get the check, we'll apply it to the account. But until we actually get the check, you won't see it on your account.
Yes, and I guess this is important to note that there is a difference between the cashier's office and the financial aid office and the scholarships office. Big difference. So I'm glad you mentioned that we, probably should have at the beginning mentioned. But the financial aid office focuses on financial aid for students, answering those questions if you have questions about FAFSA or loans or like Amber said, making sure they're seen in their account. Please reach out to the financial aid office. And if you have questions about paying your bill or what you see on the bill, that is the cashier's office. And then if your student has any ECU specific scholarships, they can reach out to the scholarships office. So 3 different offices, but they work very closely together and all, overlap in some way, shape, or form.
A little bit, yeah.
Just a little bit. Okay, awesome. So next question is for students who may be in a tuition assistance program. So can you explain a little bit of what falls under a tuition assistance program and then how they can apply that to their bill?
So, tuition assistance, most of the time, it'll be somebody's employer that offers it. I think the one that I hear about the most is Bank of America. They do offer a tuition assistance program to anybody that works for them. Um, but it's basically it's a voucher that the employer provides. I think maybe state governments also sometimes do it. And basically the information, the voucher with, like your banner ID and like your schedule, the amount of credit hours you're taking, all of that needs to be on the voucher. And then you submit that to the student billing department. They're directly across the hallway from the cashier's office and they handle that. So if you have any questions about tuition assistance vouchers, you may want to just go directly to them because cashier's office doesn't really handle that, but we can answer some basic questions about it. But the student billing department will set that up in the system.
And again, it is tuition assistance programs are not financial aid, so they are slightly different, but enough students have that or use that we just wanted to mention that a little bit. Okay, so next question. So at the beginning, I mentioned authorized users. So for those who are not sure what authorized users are, can you explain that? And then for those who are trying to be authorized users, how can students set up authorized users?
So an authorized user is where the student will add a parent, grandparent, whoever it is that needs access to the account to see the billing information. They add them as an authorized user in TouchNet, which is where you make payments. And they'll have their own login for security reasons, because if you try to log into the student's account, that's a whole mess. So you're giving your own account. You log in with whatever email address you use to sign up with, and then whatever your password is. And you'll have access to the like the 1098-T tax statements, the weekly billing statements, all of that. You can enroll in a payment plan, save payment methods, anything like that. But this is not the same thing as being on the FERPA Buckley privacy form. You can be an authorized user and not be on the FERPA privacy form, and the difference is if you're an authorized user, you have total access to the student's account, so you can see all of the information that you need. But if you're not on the FERPA privacy form and you call or email with a question, if you're not on the FERPA form, we can't answer any questions specific to the student's account. We can answer general questions, but we just can't answer anything specifically about the student because that would violate the FERPA. So you probably just want to make sure that you're on both. That way, if you ever needed to call or email, we would be able to talk to you freely.
And then you can access the FERPA form that Amber mentioned on the ECU Parent and Family Portal. So you as a parent or guardian can log on and request that information using the Student Connection feature. And then your student can also log on using Pirate Port to then assign you as a FERPA user as well. So you can either request it or your student can assign it. Either way, if you request it, your student has to approve your request by logging in, or if your student assigns you, then you also have to log in and accept it. So it's a two-way street. Both parties can start, but the other party has to complete the form as well. So next, we will talk about refunds. So you had kind of mentioned it a little bit if you see it on the bill, but can you talk about how refunds work and then when and how a student would receive a refund?
Right. So, most of the time, I would say refunds come from financial aid, because most of the time, students who receive financial aid, most of the time, they will have enough to cover the balance owed plus a little bit extra. And so, how you receive the refund kind of depends on what you elect for when you, enroll and everything. If you want the money direct deposit, you do have to set that up. If not, it will default to a paper check. And in that case, you would just want to make sure that your mailing address is up to date. And I just want to stress that the address type is very, very important. If you live on campus, it will automatically print your dorm address on it and it'll get mailed to the neighborhood service office. But if you live off campus, you would want to make sure that the address type for whatever address you put in there is set as either local or permanent, because these are the only two other address types the system will recognize when it goes to print checks. If you don't live on campus, if it's any other address type, it will not pick it up, and then we'll have to like reach out to you to get you to update it, and kind of becomes a whole process. So just make sure it's up to date.
Thank you for covering refunds. So I have one more question for you, and it's definitely something that I don't think a lot of people think of or it's top of mind for folks, and that's withdrawing, officially withdrawing either from a class or from the semester. So can you talk about why withdrawing by a certain time is important and when that time is?
Right. So for every semester, we have a set withdrawal date. So if you wanted to receive, like, let's say you went ahead and paid out of pocket for everything, um, you, of course, would want to be refunded for anything that you've paid for. So you would want to make sure that you withdraw in the 100% refund window. And so that would ensure that you get all of the money that you paid back. Or if you hadn't paid anything, you wouldn't be charged for anything. When you withdraw, the tuition and fees and everything would get reversed. So for the fall semester, the withdrawal date is 5 p.m. on August 29th. By that time, you would need to be withdrawn from either the class or from ECU as a whole. That would ensure that you get all of your money back, or you wouldn't be responsible for paying for anything. Any time after that, it like scales down. So um, the 100% refund window ends at 5 p.m. on August 29th, and then August 30th starts the 75% refund window, and then it goes down to 50, and then 25, and then September 23rd begins the no refund window. So if you wait until September 23rd, you're not going to get any money back, or you would be 100% responsible for whatever the balance on the account is, even if you withdrawn. So you can withdraw after the August 29th deadline. It's just you would want to make sure you do it by then so that you get any money that you've paid back in full.
Yes, and so withdrawing, officially withdrawing is officially telling ECU that you are no longer going to be in that class or at ECU at all. So there's a form that you need to fill out, which I believe is on the registrar's office website. And so you can visit that if your plans change and you have to withdraw because life happens sometimes.
And I was gonna say, with withdrawing, if you're withdrawing completely from ECU, you would want to make sure that, it does explain this on the registrar's page about it, is that you would want to contact any appropriate departments. So, like if you live on campus, you would want to make sure you contact housing and dining to make sure that those charges get resolved. Because sometimes students can withdraw and then there's loose ends that haven't been taken care of. So just make sure you reach out to any possible department that might have a charge on your account.
Awesome. That's a great point to make. Okay, so to wrap us up, I want to go ahead and remind folks one more time when the bill is due, and then we'll close.
The first payment deadline for the fall semester is 5 p.m. on August 12th, so you'd want to make sure that you have enough financial aid to cover your balance owed, be enrolled in a payment plan, or have your balance paid in full by that time. The second payment deadline is 5 p.m. on September 3rd. Yep, September 3rd. So same thing, you just want to make sure your balance is either paid in full, covered by financial aid, or enrolled in a payment plan. But generally speaking, if you make it through the first payment deadline, you're fine through the second one. Um, I think the second payment deadline is more so for students who start after that first payment deadline. And then I also wanted to mention the health insurance waiver. The deadline to waive out of the health insurance is 5 p.m. on September 10th. And then if you do not want to get your textbooks through the ECU First Aid Course Materials book rental service, you'll need to opt out of that by 5 p.m. on September 3rd. That is also a deadline. Otherwise, if you don't opt out of the first day course materials, you'll still be charged for it even if you do not use it. So just keep that in mind.
Thank you, Amber, for covering all of those additional deadlines. I'm really glad you mentioned them because they are very important. Um, those deadlines, as well as the tuition payment deadline and the FERPA permission form, are on the ECU Parent and Family Portal. So if you're a parent or guardian watching this video and you don't have an account on the Parent or Family Portal, I really encourage you to make an account so you can see those deadlines, get reminders of them, as well as additional information to support your student while they're here at ECU. Um, but we have covered a lot during this video. So if you have any questions about anything that we've talked about, or maybe about a specific thing on your bill or scenario that you're in, please contact the cashier's office at 252-737-6886, or you can email them at cashier@ecu.edu. But thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Amber, for joining us. I'm really excited to get this information out to you guys. And we hope you found it helpful, and we'll see you next time.